The time from 1920 to 1929 is often referred to in the United States as the Roaring Twenties. It was an exciting time in U.S. history. The 1920s were unlike any other decade in history. Women gained the right to vote, jazz music was made famous, the first Winter Olympics were held, Art Deco was popular, the first talking radio broadcast was played over the air, and talking movies were invented, among many other things. Family life in the 1920s was different than any time before. For the first time ever, more families lived in the city than on a farm. This mom can vote for the first time. For the first time in their lives, this family probably owned a vacuum cleaner, a washing machine, and a radio. Families were having fewer children, and this family probably owned their own car. The 19th Amendment gave women the chance to vote for the very first time. Thousands of women registered and voted for the first time in their lives during the 1920s. The 18th Amendment stated that the sale, consumption, or distribution of alcohol was illegal. This caused people to buy and sell the product illegally. Speakeasies were formed, which were underground clubs that sold alcohol. Jazz music was made famous in the 1920s. Dances such as the Charleston and the Black Bottom were very popular during the period, and jazz bands typically consisted of 7 to 12 musicians. Many famous people made history in the 1920s. Babe Ruth set the record for hitting 60 home runs in one season. Charles Lindbergh was the first American pilot to make a nonstop flight over the Atlantic Ocean from New York to Paris in 1927. Coco Chanel was the first designer to make pants for women. Norman Rockwell was a famous painter in the 1920s, most famous for paintings of rural and small-town life in the United States. And Walt Disney opened a small animation studio in 1923. Unfortunately, the upbeat, good-feeling times of the 1920s ended in 1929 on Black Tuesday when the stock market took the worst crash in history. This would mark the end of the Roaring Twenties, and the era of the Great Depression would begin.